Here comes Toppin again. The lob to Toppin. Thunderous dunk.
Obi Toppin, a potential top 5 pick and arguably the best player in all of college basketball on a 29-2 Dayton team that seemed poised for a Final Four run. He entered the NBA draft, went through the process briefly, but there wasn't quite enough interest to keep his name in the draft. Came back this season and made a monster splash. Averaged 20 points a game, 7.5 rebounds, 2.2 assists, shooting 70% from 2 and 39% from 3, developing into a consensus top 10 pick. Now, physically, he has some similarities to Kyle Kuzma, John Collins, and Aaron Gordon at 6'9", 220 pounds with high shoulders, a big standing reach, and a near 7-foot wingspan. With his ability to get up and down in transition, finish above the rim in space it to 3 as a shooter, punish switches on the block, and make his teammates better, Obi Toppin is an ideal offensive fit in today's NBA. So what is it that NBA scouts like most about Obi Toppin? It starts with his finishing ability, particularly in the open court. Spending most of his time at center under Anthony Grant, Toppin is one of the draft's best rim runners, changing ends in a hurry thanks to his mobility and motor. He sprints the floor hard, gives a target, and is comfortable filling the lanes like a wing as well. He also does a great job with these early post pins that we've seen from some of the NBA's best bigs like Zion Williamson. On top of that, he's a threat in trail situations, using his agility to slip screens and break free. With an adjusted field goal percentage of 77% in transition, Toppin is ideal for an NBA team that wants to get up and down. In the half court, he spaces the floor vertically out of ball screens. Thanks to his big reach and explosiveness, he's a lob threat from all over the floor, making him a point guard's dream at the next level. Throw it anywhere near the rim, and Toppin will go get it. Toppin finished second behind only Nick Richards in field goal percentage at the rim in the half court, converting 77% of 133 attempts. While he wasn't an overly prolific offensive rebounder at Dayton, Toppin's length and explosiveness makes him a tip dunk threat every time down, even after his own misses. It's rare to find bigs who can put pressure on the rim athletically, but can also step out and space the floor as a shooter. Obi Toppin fits that mold and offers ideal offensive versatility. Now, he's a career 42% from 3 on 103 attempts during his time at Dayton. He's a threat in trail situations where he has time and space to get to a somewhat methodical release. Spending a lot of time at center for Dayton, he took advantage of slow-footed bigs, popping to space to step in to catch and shoot threes. He can space it from the corners as well, which should allow him to fit into more traditional 2 big lineups at the next level. While not the most elusive ball handler, Toppin is comfortable attacking centers in either direction and isn't afraid to tap into that 2-foot bounce when he's run off the line. He also uses that mobility in dribble handoff situations, regularly faking the DHO and beating his man to the front of the rim. He unleashes these fakes in either direction and fits the way most NBA teams want to play with his pass, dribble, shoot skill set. Switch a guard onto him, and Toppin is more than comfortable scoring on the block. Now, he's light in his lower body and doesn't have the best balance versus real size, but he utilizes quick spins along the baseline and shined as one of the most efficient post scorers in college basketball. He's ambidextrous on the block with the ability to drop in jump hooks over either shoulder and is starting to develop more comfortability on short turnarounds. So he can space it to 3, attack in a straight line, score on the block, and he makes himself available off the ball as a cutter. Dayton moved him all over the floor, breaking him free out of UCLA cuts with regularity. He's also comfortable playing out of short rolls and doesn't need much offense designed for him to have an impact. While he finished his career with more turnovers than assists, Obi Toppin has a very sound feel for the game, and he keeps the ball humming on the offensive end of the floor. Now, he's most confident and comfortable playmaking out of the post, as he regularly saw double teams this season. He's patient, using retreat dribbles to set up weak side passes, then spacing back out to 3 to become a threat. He senses where the double team comes from, and even surveys the floor unselfishly for shooters when he isn't pressured. He delivers passes with either hand and can even playmake on the move some, as you can see here with the right-handed hook pass on the money to the open shooter. Toppin's vision then extends to the perimeter. He plays with his head up, finds open seams, and hits the big in the paint on the ball reversal. He's an accurate high-low passer and is evolving as a short-roll decision-maker, as you can see here against Colorado on the big-to-big feed with the Buffaloes late on the rotation. The dunks and threes are what catch your eye, but it's Toppin's playmaking and vision that could truly take his game to the next level. Obi Toppin has major question marks on the defensive end of the floor, but he also has length and defensive instincts. Last season, he averaged 1.2 steals and 1.6 blocks per 40 minutes. Now he's active in the passing lanes, regularly disrupting entry passes or deflecting post feeds with his length and anticipation. He's a playmaker off the ball as well, as you can see here with his head on a swivel, rotating from the weak side for a steal. He shows glimpses of potential as a rim protector also, in part due to the fact that he played mostly center at Dayton. Given some of his struggles defending the perimeter, he'll likely see some time at center in the NBA as well. So fully tapping into that shot blocking potential will be key long term. As you can see here against Georgia, picture perfect verticality technique. Although he's not freakishly long, those high shoulders give him a sizable standing reach, which, when combined with his leaping ability and timing, gives him plenty of upside as a rim protector both as the primary and secondary defender. Obi Toppin was one of the faces of college basketball this season, with his high-flying dunks, deep threes, big on-court personality, and unique backstory. But for as exciting and productive as he was, Toppin is far from a perfect prospect. There are questions about him defensively, as a rebounder, as an on-the-move shooter, a ball handler, and as a finisher through contact in the paint. On top of that, there's the question of just how big of a role did Anthony Grant's offensive genius play in Toppin's success, as he played mostly the five with shooting and playmaking constantly surrounding him. But really, it's the defensive shortcomings that are most glaring, especially when you consider it's not always a matter of will, but rather whether or not he's capable, given his narrow waist, skinny legs, and somewhat upright nature. For as versatile as he is on the offensive end, he struggles defending both fours and fives on the other side of the ball. While not always tested playing predominantly center in the Atlantic 10, Toppin has his issues keeping the ball contained on the perimeter, as you can see here late in the game against Colorado. He's an explosive finisher on the offensive end, but he's not overly mobile or quick-footed on a lateral plane and doesn't always get off the floor quickly enough to bother shots when he does get beat. He needs to be near perfect with his technique to make up for his shortcomings, and that's not always the case, as you see here against Rhode Island. He doesn't change direction or stop and start all that well for a player his size, which you can see here on back-to-back closeouts. With so many teams opting to play combo forward wing types at the 4 spot, especially late in games, it'll be interesting to see whether or not Toppin can keep up. His perimeter struggles carry over to ball screen defense also. As you can see here, he doesn't square the ball up like he could, and his upright nature limits his mobility. His motor comes and goes guarding ball screens also, which is on display here against Colorado. Even if the ball is supposed to be pinned to the sideline, Toppin is late recovering. He gives straight line drives to the rim and isn't quite the shot blocking force he could be in those situations. He's a little jumpier than you'd hope given his age, biting on shot fakes all too often. With his value as a rim runner, roller, and finisher, you'd like to see Toppin be able to play some center in the NBA, but that's a question mark at 220 pounds with such a light base and good not great length for a 5 with a 6'11 wingspan. While in part due to the offensive load he shouldered, Toppin wasn't the most physical post defender, regularly allowing duck-ins. Massive bigs like Udoka Azubuike abused him time and time again this season. Even with his light frame, you'd like to see a little bit more fight and resistance. Although instinctual, he struggles containing quick rip-throughs, as you can see here against Grambling, and doesn't quite have the quickness or strength to contain interior-oriented bigs in one-on-one situations. So while he doesn't project as a plus defender of modern NBA forwards, he also doesn't quite have the physicality or elite reach to handle more traditional bigs. He can make up for that some if he consistently buys in as a rim protector, but his effort and focus really comes and goes. Here against Colorado, you can see he gives no help on back-to-back back screens. Then here in the second half against Duquesne, he's in perfect position to rotate over for a block, but simply flies by at half speed. And then again against Colorado, with his point guard overmatched against Tyler Bay, no help at the rim. On top of that, Toppin isn't the toughest rebounder either, averaging 9.6 boards per 40 minutes despite playing most of the season at the 5. Here against VCU, he gives up inside position to the guard after the switch, leading to VCU free throws. Then against LaSalle, caught in no man's land between rotating for a block and boxing out, and gives up the easy putback. Then his lack of lower body strength on display here against St. Louis as he's outmatched on a free throw box out. The league's elite offensive rebounders like Azubuike had their way with Toppin, which makes you question just how much five, if any, he'll be able to play in the NBA. The league's elite modern forwards have guard, wing-like skills on the perimeter, and that's an area where Toppin is still evolving. As you can see on this grab and go, he's a bit upright and rigid as a ball handler. He'll expose the ball on straight line drives and isn't all that graceful changing direction, in part due to his high center of gravity. While he shows potential as a playmaker from a standstill, he's still fine-tuning his decision-making when he's on the move, and his first read is taken away. On top of that, Toppin isn't the most dynamic on-the-move shooter either. He's fairly reliable with his feet set, but Toppin made just one off-the-dribble jumper in 31 games on 8 attempts. While it's not imperative for your 4 or 5s to be able to shoot off the dribble, if you project Toppin as more of a star than a piece, then you'd like to see him look a little bit more comfortable making shots on the move. There are also some questions about just how consistent he'll be from the NBA line, as he did benefit from having slow-footed 5s close out to him as opposed to quicker wings and forwards. He's a career 70.6% free throw shooter, and his mechanics do get a little bit sloppy when he's heavily contested. If he's expected to come in and play on the perimeter full time, Toppin really needs to fine-tune his handle, on-the-move passing, and shooting to fit in today's game. Lastly, Toppin's lack of lower body strength does limit his effectiveness inside the paint when he faces real size and strength, making it that much more important that he fine-tunes his perimeter skill. As you can see here against VCU, it takes him 7 dribbles to get to a shot in the post. Then here against St. Louis, he simply doesn't have the lower body leverage to drive the defender back and generate a high-quality look. When he's not tasked with trying to move a more physical post defender, Toppin's balance takes a bit of a hit. He doesn't always keep his feet underneath him when he goes into his moves, which is evident both on the interior and on the perimeter. Of course, Toppin doesn't project as a back-to-the-basket scorer in the NBA, but some of his shortcomings playing through contact make it that much more important that he hones his perimeter skill. Overall, Toppin is one of the draft's most exciting players. He dunks everything, he shoots it with range, he generally has a good energy and way about him on the floor, and he has a big personality. It's easy to project him coming in and having a role and being a useful player from day one in the NBA, especially at age 22. But what scouts need to figure out is whether or not Toppin is a future star or just a piece to the puzzle.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.